This is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Agatha All Along, Episode 5, Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power.
When Agatha killed her original coven
by stealing their power.
Because her own mother tried to have her executed.
Are you really defending a noted serial killer, you creepy lurker?
Come on, someone finish the story.
When Agatha murdered her sister witches, she spared their young children.
Yeah, and then they became a feral, hive-minded coven bent on revenge.
The moral of the story, kids, is always finish what you started. Also, mercy is overrated.
Welcome back, fellow Defenders, to the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're here and we're talking about episode 5 of Agatha All Along. Darkest Hour, waketh thy power. I am one of your hosts, John.
I am one of your other hosts, Derek.
And yeseth, I am Chriseth. If we're going to go Old English, I'm going to go in with all the ithis and ithis and ye these that I can. I am Chriseth.
Chriseth, welcome, indeed.
No, it's welcometh.
Well, indeedeth, it is.
There you go.
This is the Defendeth podcast on TV Podcast Industry.
Okay, now
Now
it sounds like
I've
it
got
is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you're the actual English one.
I love it. Welcome back, Chris. Welcome back, John. Great to have everybody here
Why,
for
thank you,
another
sir.
episode of Agatha All Along.
Yes.
Chris, we got a message in from Dr. Bob Phillips about your return last week. He just wanted to say quickly, thank you so much for being so impressed with the episode that you didn't sing. I was on tenterhooks throughout the whole podcast. There you go.
See, I actually did threaten it twice, and then only sang at the end when we had stopped recording.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
Just in
yes.
case you're wondering whether I edited it out or not, I didn't. So for Dr. Bob Phillips, you kept him on tenterhooks for the entire episode, Chris. There you go. Thanks,
Glad
Dr.
it
Bob.
helped.
Yes.
Thanks, Dr. Bob.
Thanks, Dr. Bob. Fellow Defenders, you know the drill. Pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done already. You can subscribe to any Wiccan or Android-loving podcast player of your choice. We here at TV Podcast Industries, especially on the Defenders podcast, love to get your thoughts, theories, observations, and comments all about the episodes that we cover. So please, why don't you send your emails to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or head on over to our spoiler posts on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, where you can join in with our lovely fellow Defenders, fellow industrialists, and fellow you name it, whatever we're covering.
Gothamites at the moment. 'cause we're
Gothamites at the
covering
moment,
Penguin,
yes.
yeah.
And Ringers have just literally sailed into the West on the podcast after we have concluded our season 2 of The Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm. What an excellent series. And that finale was really good. Yeah.
It was
really
so
good.
pretty.
It was very pretty
so
and very
pretty.
violent and very cool. Yeah, it was an
It was
excellent
so
season
pretty.
TV. Yeah.
And I quite fancy Sauron as well. I mean, Sauron is a bit of a hottie, actually.
At times.
When he's not burning.
Exactly,
ice.
yes. When he's not being
Okay.
the great deceiver,
Yeah.
Okay,
he's
there
a
you
bit
go.
of a hottie.
Okay.
Oh, Sauron.
Pretty sure that-
You temptress.
Oh, Sarah. While we're in the world of fantasy, I will quickly shout out, we just hit week 2 of The Legend of Vox Machina release on Prime Video. If you're a fan of animation, if you're a fan of D&D, if you're a fan of just good adult, I will namely say adult animation, you like some of the stuff we covered in Invincible, do strongly recommend this is season 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina for you guys who do Critical Role. Absolutely brilliant. 6 episodes are out so far. So get on it. It is fantastic. Each episode's 20 minutes, and they drop 3 episodes last week and 3 episodes this week. Definitely something to check out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great stuff.
It is really good, isn't it? It's a really good show.
Absolutely.
You guys are big fans. And just to say, though, if you don't have Prime Video, the first 2 seasons of Vox Machina were actually put up by the channel on YouTube because they want more people to watch it as it comes into season 3. So you can see the first 2 seasons without even subscribing to Prime Video, and then go and subscribe to Prime Video to see the 3rd season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good. Chris introduced me to Vox Machina. Really, really enjoyed season 1, season 2 as well, and of course season 3. As Chris said, great adult animation. Unfortunately, we're not covering it, but
just didn't have time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those things where if we don't have time, or it doesn't fit in, at least at those initial episodes for the first season, then it unfortunately falls by the wayside for us a bit.
But also a podcast about a D&D group that became a D&D team going on adventures every week, that became an animated series and then being podcasted on by us. I don't think it would have fitted into everything that we do. And I don't have enough knowledge about it to contribute at all.
Well, that's true.
But as usual, it's more to do with our cup of overflowing with wonderful shows to cover more than anything else.
Yes, exactly. But let us get on to this wonderful show. Agatha All Along, episode 5, Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power. Derek, who gave us what, where, when, and how?
Well, of course, showrunner for the show is Jack Schaefer, who is also the showrunner for WandaVision. This episode was written by Laura Monti, a script coordinator on WandaVision and one of the members of the writing team for the show. This episode was directed by Rachel Goldberg, once again, who directed episode 3 and 4 as well.
Excellent. I wonder if that's of family Goldberg fame.
I don't think so. I don't think she's a member of Goldberg's.
Well,
but she could be.
She could be.
I haven't researched that at all, but I didn't see it on our IMDb page. It's a fun 80s show, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for this very short episode of Agatha All Along?
Sure. Summoning the Green Witch Rio to the Witch's Road left a door open for Agatha's pursuers, the Salem Seven, to follow the Coven. Unwittingly, they discuss Agatha's murder of her coven and learn that she left their daughters alive, and they are on a vendetta against her. To escape the transforming hunters, the teen again suggests using old magic, which the coven reluctantly use, and take to the skies on brooms. But the Witch's Road drags them back down for the next trial, a blood-red trial for Agatha herself. She must use a Ouija board to contact a spirit and learns that she must be punished before leaving. The ghost of Agatha's mother tries to get the coven to kill Agatha as punishment and possesses her. Alice tries to give her coven mate some power to fight off the possession, but Agatha almost unconsciously drains Alice, leaving her for dead. While the teen mourns Alice, another ghost, Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch, arrives as her real punishment, calling on his mother to stop hurting Alice. With the task complete, the remaining witches escape. But back on the road, a repowered Agatha recognizes the teen. He reminds her of her mother, but she's never seen him wearing a crown. But Lilia and Jennifer drag Agatha off the road to be buried as they turn towards the teen, but he is now a fully powered Wiccan who pushes them off the road. But where is the Green Witch Rio? Will she be able to save them, or will she even care?
Yes, where is Rio? Noticeably absent at the end of the episode, isn't she?
Absolutely, but I know who isn't. It's a Wiccan, or is it the Wiccan?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's the Wiccan.
I'm saying they ended the episode on this cliffhanger so that we would all speculate for a whole week. And it could be just somebody projecting their luck onto him. So he is a Wiccan because he is a magic-using male witch, which is a Wiccan. There you go.
But it's a crown. It's the crown that just...
Yeah.
Sets it off. Yeah. Sets off the look. But that could be just what young Wiccans these days wear, Chris.
As a fan of the school of the MCU, and especially the fan of episodic writing, and this is 100% done and stopped at that point, on particular, en masse, to make us go for the next 7 days, as you said, here, every YouTuber around and content creator is literally scrambling to create the history of Wiccan.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, that is what we... And the fact that they included Nicholas Scratch in this at the exact same time as a separate spirit shows that Nicholas Scratch is not in the team. So they're just like, here's all your things, tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
But it's too convenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the way of putting it.
But let us get on with our top 5 spells for this episode, which was a little short.
It was.
It
Yep.
felt very short and snappy.
I think 23 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's almost 10 minutes or 15 minutes shorter than the average episode so far this season.
It was snappy.
It felt very much that they, like, literally from the second it started, it was just, it was a chase. And, like, it felt that concise. So I know it was an actual chase.
Yeah.
But it felt very much in that edited bay to give you that sense of breathlessness between there was no stopping scenes.
Yeah.
It was all frenetic, wasn't it? It was all very
Best term,
frenetic.
yes.
Like,
Very
even in the cabin.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it was, like, non-stop. But,
Mhm.
like this podcast, let us get into spell number 1, the Salem 7. So we get a bit of kind of background here, as well as them leaking through from the real world onto the Witch's Road, which was pretty cool.
This was such a cool opener for the episode as you saw them seeping in to the Witch's Road. What a cool way of showing them. We get the kind of reveal as Lilia sees them arriving that it's because they called Rio to the Witch's Road. They've kind of left the door open for the abilities of the Salem 7 to get through the door blocking the way, which is where they were bound last time in Agatha's house. So that's cool. And then you just see them kind of, inkily in the black seeping into the scenes. It was cool.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was like part The Ring, you know, the sort of that jerky movement, part Ring Wraith with the cloaks and all that, and
Absolutely,
the whispers
yeah.
and the kind of hissing of the whispers.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're a very cool aesthetic. I really, really enjoyed just how they moved, how they took the screen, and like the one that howls up towards the blood red moon type thing, calling the other or the remaining members of the Salem 7 to kind of her location. Like, you could see that classic Disney green witch, the face being green. So I thought that was really, really cool, to be honest.
Do you believe they left the door open? It feels like a rookie thing. And if you think about, like, they weren't rushing when Rio came through.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, I see your question. No, it's not that they left the door open. The door was closed behind them and that blocked the Salem 7 from arriving. It's that they cast the spell which pulled Rio from the outside world, creating a new door, effectively.
Yes.
That the Salem
No, I
7
know.
came through. Yeah.
But do you feel like they actually left it open a crack? Because these are not junior witches. You would assume that, like, they didn't do that the calling for Rio,
Like a-
the Green Witch.
Like a schoolboy error. It's a bit schoolboy error.
It feels like, did Rio leave it open?
Or maybe,
Did Rio leave it open on purpose? Are we going to find out that Jen is actually working against someone who's been working with the Salem 7? Like, it just felt very... She purposely made... Remember Agatha, when they actually came down the first time to Witch Road, she purposely closed it. She, like, touched it to make sure it was closed, like, from a magical sense. It just feels... Again, I could be clutching at straws here. It feels like, as John said, a schoolboy or a baby witch error. Like, oh no, we left the spell slightly ajar, so now the people coming can get here. Because, it just felt a bit off.
See, I take it from the warning before they summoned Rio last episode. It was, you can't summon a witch down to the Witch's Road. You don't do that. You gather your coven together and then you all come in to the Witch's Road together. And then because Mrs. Hart died, they had to summon a replacement witch, and by summoning a replacement witch, this caused this problem that there's now a tier allowing the Salem 7 to come in.
Yeah.
It was my understanding that it was because of that warning that we'd heard in the last episode. But it is really interesting. So we had wondered whether this was potentially Agatha's coven that she'd killed off, that we saw in the flashback, and we saw in the opening scene of this episode, in the previously on in this episode. And it turns out actually Agatha did kill all of her coven, but left all of their children alive, and those children have formed together to come on a revenge spree, effectively, over the centuries. I absolutely love Agatha's line as they're all talking about this amongst themselves, and as she walks back in and goes, well, it just goes to show, finish what you started, and mercy is overrated. So while she would have thought of it as a very merciful act, and again, you know, she's the villainess who's become the central character in her own show, so they got to see her as a little bit heroic. She killed all of the members of her coven around her who wanted her dead. As Rio points out, her mom was the one that was trying to lead them all to kill her. So Agatha killing all of them is reactionary, is trying to protect her own life from being killed, but she mercifully leaves their kids alive, and now they're coming back after her. So I thought those are kind of interesting details.
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it. I kind of like this idea that they have become this murderous, feral coven bent on revenge against Agatha. Again, just coming back to the Rio thing as well, it was also just, I felt Rio was kind of a bit topsy-turvy in this episode. I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, like, she was conflicted, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I think to the point that possibly with the summoning spell, you know, it could just be that it's left this conduit for the Salem 7 to kind of jerkily crawl through.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Rio, given she wants bodies, they're quite effective at that by the looks of it. You know, they're pretty kind of top trump card level 10, I guess. You know, you'd be kind of playing them for a lot of power moves.
Maybe.
But I kind of like this little bit background. I like that they flashed back to the WandaVision sort of scene of Agatha killing her coven. And I like then how that connected sort of later through into the episode with Agatha's mother arriving at that trial as well.
Absolutely. It's cool.
I like the union mind approach that they have a singular mind, the 7-7. So they formed this kind of hive mind, as it's called out.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is it's a cool thing. So they're acting as one to a degree as the 7. And it's a unique, as you guys said, it's not what we thought where it is. It is the children.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parallels being drawn here. So you obviously have Agatha with her child, Nicholas. You have now Agatha with the Coven's children. You have Agatha and the teen, which is potentially Scarlet Witch's child. Like, we have all these parallels between mother and child being kind of drawn.
Yeah.
Even in this episode, as you said, because we see Agatha's mother again later. So it would be interesting to see again how this one's resolved, because yes, they're out for blood, but they're out for blood because their parents their mothers were killed by Agatha.
Yeah.
So there's a justification here.
It's a proper revenge tale, yeah. And I kind of like it, and you chose a great word there, John, about them being feral. You know, the idea is that they've been around for, 600-700 years now, on a revenge path, looking for Agatha, turning themselves into animals so they can monitor what she's doing. So they have almost become feral, effectively. They've found their way here, and they are of a singular, unified purpose where all of them are there for one goal, and that's to kill Agatha Harkness. You know, and it is interesting that she's there with the Coven, and none of them really have the same goal. All of them have a different goal, unless you just say getting to the end of the Witch's Road is their goal. But they all have a different goal, and that's starting to cause friction amongst this group. So
absolutely.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
Great stuff. I think we can move on to our second spell. To Hexen Besson we will ride on a broom, I think. Broom riding for Broomhilders, I guess. I really loved this. I just thought it was so good. It really evoked I think the industrial complex to exploit the witch culture, and of course that sort of non-empowering symbol of female domesticity.
Absolutely love that from Lillian. It was so good.
But loved that. But on a serious note, I just thought it was really, really cool. I kind of enjoyed the whole thing because as the witches are kind of silhouetted against the blood red moon, they're really enjoying themselves and like going, I haven't done this in ages.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like being a kid again for the witch. And I just really,
One even
really
says like centuries, like
exactly.
literal ages. Yeah. And the team going, why don't we just travel the road like this all the time? It's so cool, you know?
So I just thought this was a really good, fun thing. And of course, to escape the Salem 7 as they've kind of sort of pegged them in on the Witch's Road.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked how this came up. Again, another piece of old magic that is being suggested here by the team. So again, another little nod to this kid having significant sort of old school knowledge.
Absolutely.
You know?
Even though he says that, you know, witches of their generation don't like brooms. I must say I had to read the subtitles like 3 times to work out what the hell they were talking about, the Hexenbessen. And I was like, is it a hex that they're putting on somebody? Is it a spell they're putting somewhere? But Hexenbessen is just the name for witch's broom. It's not a spell. It's just witch's broom. It's the original word for it. So that's why I was just completely confused why they didn't want hexes. Why didn't they want to do that? And then they were all fine with doing a broom. But I love the little ceremony of it that each of them have to kind of gift a branch to each other.
Yeah.
Say the
Quickly as well.
Yeah, exactly. Say the Latin spell, and then they're able to fly on the broom. I love again the team going, how the hell do I do this? And he's just told, keep up. That's it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was really good. And I love the fact that as they kind of fall back to the road, because the road is pulling them back on it effectively, you have all of the witches screaming, apart from Rio, who gives out a good old witch's cackle.
Absolutely.
Really liked that.
Yeah.
I thought this was really a lot of fun. I loved a lot of the imagery of it. So yeah, this was a great little moment here as they escape the Salem 7.
Yeah.
For me, this was reminiscent of Bedknobs and Broomsticks. If you guys remember that.
I do, yeah.
Classic.
I remember it well, yeah.
Yeah. And like, it was just the fun side of magic.
Yeah.
The fun side of witchcraft. And it was just seeing that they invoked it even through the music, just so that part. If you think about a lot of the accompanying music in the last couple of episodes has been darker, more orchestral, where this was more kind of fanfare, kind of like very sweet, harmonized music as they were flying. And it's almost like that, almost like a Steven Spielberg E.T. moment as they go through the air.
100%, yeah. Definitely called the E.T. first, yeah.
I was like, very cool. Understand what you're trying to do here. This is the fun of witchcraft, and they're coming together, forming a coven. They're becoming a cohesive unit. And it was at that actual point where I had a pained look towards Rio. I was like, oh, this is going to get me horrible again, because you're like, that's the lost love.
Absolutely.
Look, it's like, oh, what have I done? And I'm like, okay, so at that point, this is not a happy end. Like, we're not getting towards the happy ending here.
No.
This is just going to get worse. And we're 100% did. Because a split second later, they're forced back onto the Witch's Road.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that forcing us onto our spell number 3 is because not only forced back onto the Witch's Road, but confronted on that road with the third trial. We go from broom riding to the blood moon trial for Agatha Harkness. And of course, this really invoked a lot of great 80s horror.
Classic.
Cabin in the Woods, Friday the 13th, and
Evil
Evil
Dead.
Dead as well. And certainly when we have the possession of Agatha as well, another little nod to Evil Dead there. So I really, I loved this. I loved as they were kind of escaping the Salem 7. You know, they ride their brooms through one of them that's kind of converted to bugs, and as they go through into the cabin, they're all in this 80s outfit with Agatha sort of trying to get one of the bugs out of her hair.
Yeah. I'm certain that the outfits are from 80s horror movies specifically.
Yeah.
I can definitely recognize a couple of outfits from Friday the 13th in there. So it isn't just Evil Dead. It's definitely a mix of the two of those, of Friday the 13th and Evil Dead. Yeah,
absolutely. And just before we go into sort of kind of the trial bit, just to our conversation right at the start around, you know, the Wiccan or a Wiccan, I thought that the teen's outfit in the cabin really hinted at Wiccan. You had the band around the head, and then that red, that jumper, really invoked some of the recent comic looks of Wiccan to me.
I can kind of see that, but again, this is one that specifically reminds me of Friday the 13th. That's the outfit. I think it's Kevin Bacon, the first Friday the 13th movie, if I remember rightly, and that's his outfit. So it's almost exactly, but it serves both purposes. How about
exactly
that?
Both can be true.
Yeah, both can be true. Exactly.
For sure.
But
no, I mean, as I say, it's just a little thing that, you know, it may or may not amount to anything, but if it does amount to it being a little nod to the Wiccan and the Wiccan at the end, well then, you know, that would be great. And if not, well, it got me theorizing for most of a week, writing my blogs.
I think I have to say I like the choice here to bring in the Ouija board. This is a fun piece where you know that there's a lot of death in Agatha's background.
Yeah.
So, and you expect from the conversations being brought up about her son consistently that is the demonic entry first. That is the thing that will go. So when they first go a fake out with Mrs. Hart and it's Agatha playing messing around, I was like, brilliant.
That is really funny, and the fact that I didn't get it for immediately, because why would the ghost of Sharon Davis use a Ouija board and put Mrs. Hart in there? You know, why would you do that? And then Agatha tries to impersonate her, going, I drink before midday, you know, I get myself involved in all of these adventures because my life is so boring, and that's her impersonation of Mrs. Hart. You're going, oh, hang on a second, that's not Mrs. Hart. So they all go, that's just Agatha. But I love the kind of touch of Rio here, and again, you were saying we go back and forth quite a lot with Rio in this episode, but she seems much more loving towards Agatha after last week's episode. She specifically calls out here the reason why Agatha's doing it is because she's terrified of facing the trial. She's absolutely terrified that this is the trial that's going to kill her, or she will have to face some really bad trauma in her past. So interesting that Rio calls that out directly after she's doing the impersonation. So that's why she chose to do the impersonation, hoping she could just fake the trial.
Yeah.
Fake it till she makes it.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I've got to spin back round to the fake out actually, because I didn't get it until Jennifer said it. I was there. The main thing that was going through my head was, oh, why didn't they use her voice to do Mrs. Hart here? You know, I was thinking, oh, maybe that's a good choice. And then it was like, oh, she's faking it. And I was like, okay, Grant, that's why they didn't
now
use
I
her
understand.
Yeah, she does a good enough job that you know she's trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, but it is just the line of I drink in the morning, basically.
I believe Mrs. Hart would have done that, or Sharon, Shazza, you know, you name it.
When she's done her 10 minutes of gardening every morning, then she goes in and cracks open a bottle of wine.
Green fingers, red tongue.
Yeah. There you go. But we do get the actual reveal of who is on the Ouija board. Now, an interesting one here. The name that appears, like when they ask who's there, what appears is Death, Death. Death is a comic book character in Marvel Comics, connected to Thanos, the girlfriend of Thanos, at the time he starts the Infinity War to impress her. So it's quite a big character. But that's not the name that's appearing. It's saying that it wants death. It wants the witch taking this trial to be punished. So that's why the trial is Agatha's, and that's what she has to achieve, right?
Yep.
Has to get punished.
Yeah, absolutely.
The punishment as being called out was fun. Can I say fun? But it wasn't what you were expecting. Like I was expecting kind of like honesty or revelation or truth. Truth is what... Again, this show is a lot darker than some of the other MCU properties that we've kind of seen.
Yeah.
And it's just even thematically, I think, you're talking about patricide, matricide, infanticide, getting all of the sides in there.
Yeah.
And they're doing, like, when Agatha goes all exorcist... That's proper. Like, they had her doing the backflip and the crab walk up walls and things.
Absolutely.
I was like, well done.
Yeah, they really got those touches of Evil Dead. It's just so interesting when you say that. You know, they do have a bit of Exorcist and a bit of Evil Dead, but it's so interesting that Sam Raimi is the last person to direct Wanda Maximoff in a Marvel movie, right? So with Multiverse of Madness, and he's the original director of Evil Dead, so they've kind of taken back inspiration from the director of WandaVision. I think that's kind of cool. But it is really interesting that she's being told she has to be punished here. You're right. The idea that Agatha might have to tell the truth for once would be an amazing trial for us, and she can never tell the truth and never tell the Coven what's actually going on. But they all propose different ways of doing it. Do you notice that in the conversation? You know, you have Rio kind of going, just slit her throat, which is an interesting flip from her being so caring beforehand. And doesn't Jen say... you can just humiliate her. That would be punishment enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you have Lilia just saying, tie her up.
Yeah, exactly.
And leave her.
Yeah.
I think I mean, ultimately as well, what I like here is that it is the true punishment or thing that Agatha has to face that is kind of saying this. But I like how they mix it up with the possession of Agatha by her mum as well, because you suddenly go, okay, is this what's being called by the Ouija board? And I also kind of like how Rio seems to take a bit of a worried look when she realizes that a ghost has arrived.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed having this connecting back to sort of the flashback from WandaVision, but also sort of the tales of Agatha's sort of murder of her original coven.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked how this played out. And, again, this is where you kind of realize that actually Agatha is bad.
Yep.
Like her mum calls it out. When Agatha asks, why do you hate me so much? She's like, you were born evil. I should have killed you at birth. Again, not sort of shying away from what she actually thinks. And again,
I thought that was a pretty heartbreaking scene, and and the rest of the Coven really did as well. You could see the reactions from them, kind of going, "Well, how is she supposed to grow up to be a well-adjusted witch if her own mother's saying I should have killed you at birth because you were born evil?" And all of them kind of going, "Well, I can see why you hate her and took the opportunity to kill her and her Coven, but why would your mom hate you from birth?"
But it's not. I mean, it is. But then you kind of hear her sort of say, "Well, I, myself and my Coven took the risk to destroy Agatha, i.e., because of her particular skill set of absorbing magical power, and now you've just willingly gone and joined her." And she's like, so it's coming from that basis. And I kind of, again, it's just more sort of context on that flashback, and I thought it was really, really good, because they recognized the danger that she was to other witches. Ultimately, I mean, this is kind of like, you know, it's like the Manchurian Candidate in witches. It'll kill them all if they're not careful.
Well, yeah.
Type of thing. So, I thought this, it was harsh, it was tragic, but I really enjoyed how this played out with her ghost like mother there. Yeah. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
And even just that, you know, we get the flashback at the start of the episode of the likes of Jennifer warning the teen about Agatha as well. So just to emphasize the fact that, yes, okay, as her mother, this is particularly sort of personal, but there's a lot of other witches out there that have, you know, not have that kind of view of Agatha.
Yeah, I'm going to post something in a minute on a different point about this point. But is there anything else about the actual trial itself and what's happening with Evanora Harkness and the possession of Agatha that you want to talk about?
Nothing on my side. I want to hear this or what you are about to posit.
No, I think I really enjoyed this whole sort of Ouija board Blood Moon trial.
Absolutely, it really works well as a shout back to 80s horror movies and 70s horror movies. There was always a Ouija board in the babysitter's room. Always, and always it led to lots of people dying. So really cool to have that in here. And really well executed in the show as well. On to spell 4, because we're going to dedicate a point specifically to the loss of another witch on the road. Draining Alice Wu is our spell point number 4. Alice steps in as Evanora Harkness is repossessing her daughter. They're all choosing whether they leave Agatha behind, whether they take the instruction of continuing down the witch's road without her, and they're about to leave Agatha behind. But the protection witch, Alice, jumps in. We saw earlier on when the owl of the Salem 7 tried to get at the teen, it was Alice Wu that stopped them from attacking and stopped them from catching the teen. Here she's trying to push back the possession from Agatha's mother, Evanora. And what it looks to me like, and this is the other theory I have, what it looks to me like is the second the power of another witch touches Agatha, she starts to drain the power away from Alice. So she's trying to give her a little bit of power. She's trying to protect her, probably just trying to push out the ghost of Evanora Harkness. But Agatha latches onto that power and can't let go, more than doesn't want to let go. So I feel like while a lot of the story here that we're hearing, and this is part of weekly TV, right? A lot of the story that we're hearing is that Agatha's evil. This is her power. She sucks another witch's power if they shoot at her, if they fire at her. She can't take their power willingly without them actually attacking her in the first place. But when they do, she takes all of their power, and that is just what happens. And it seems here she has no way of breaking that power until even when the rest of the coven are shouting at her, the teens trying to break off the connection between Alice and Agatha, and she can't. It's only when the true source, I guess, of the trial, which is Nicholas Scratch, once he calls out to her, that breaks the connection between the two of them. And by that stage, Agatha has taken all of Alice's power, leaving her, unfortunately, a husk, gone, all of the power taken out of her. So I wonder if the story has been telling us up to this point that she is a villain because the perception of what her power is that she takes witch's power, but actually it's only when she's being attacked, and it's something that she had no control over, that part of the power. It kind of amps her up and overloads her almost.
I mean, agreed. And I think that is a source of contention with these witches in these scenes as well. You know, that you have the teen saying you should have stopped, and Agatha saying no, I couldn't. There's nothing I could do. But then it also then becomes a bit like, well, like a virus, because it's like that's what they are, and they happen to destroy. And it's like, and I think that's the point of Evanora, was it's not that Agatha is bad or evil. She's bad and evil to people who have lost their witch relatives to Agatha in this way. So that's why she's built the reputation. Even though it's not something she can necessarily control. Again, it'd be interesting to see how Rio is connected here as well. Is it just simply that she's like the rag and bone man picking up the bodies at the end to whisk them off to death? Is she death herself? Or, is there some reason why she's kind of latched on to this power of Agatha? But I loved this whole scene. For sure. I'm really sad that Alice died as a result. I'm kind of really fearful for the other two because I really like Jennifer and Lilia. I don't want them to die at the hands of old, magic absorbing Agatha
or anybody.
But I liked how passionate the teen gets. Like he's screaming at Agatha, don't touch her. They're trying to see if she can kind of do something, reverse something. The teen says, there's always a spell, and she was protecting you. But he has actually lost his spell book as well. We found out from when he was up in the skies on his broom. So he's got his reference book, in a sense, that has vanished. This was all really emotional, and it's a shame old Alice is husked out.
It is, isn't it? Like, I know, they have their trial and something, the next episode, we usually get a bit more about them. So we saw that with Jennifer when she completed her trial, we got a bit more the following episode. So I was expecting a bit more from Alice. But again, she seems significantly more powerful after her trial this episode in protecting the other two and protecting the teen and Agatha when they're attacked. She seems to be able to tap into a newfound power after completing the trial, which is something we talked about last time. But unfortunately, she's lost here to the reactionary magic of Agatha, is the way I'm going to put it. Anyway.
No, and I think you're onto something. I think it would make sense to turn Agatha into an almost Morbius character. Like the living vampire.
Right.
In the comic books, they have been evil for years. And in this show, previously, she's evil. But to turn it into that she's been a misunderstood, her initial background before being corrupted was essentially that she's cursed, that people attack her. She absorbs the power of it. Very much like Rogue in the X-Men.
In the X-Men, yeah.
Like, basically, Rogue's power is absorption of power. It means she can't touch people, and like that is started with her being a villain.
Yeah.
Like she was brainwashed and all that part. But anyway, she was a villain initially, and then they made her a good person.
Yeah, because Agatha in the comic books has always been, has never really been a villain or a hero. No. She stands in the middle on the Witch's Road. She stands in the middle of everything, really. So, but I do wonder, and here's one for you, John, that you might like. Doctor Strange 3 movie, where they finally go back to the storyline left open in Doctor Strange 1, which was Baron Mordo wants to rid the world of magic. If he had someone like Agatha to walk alongside him to take the magic out of magic users around the world, that job would suddenly become easy, and that story would become quite interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Doctor Strange 3, you heard it here first. Mordo plus Agatha Harkness going around the world, stealing all the magics.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And just one final thing on this point. It's actually to do with the trial itself and the revelation, I suppose, that it is Agatha's mother when she arrives, when Evanora Harkness arrives. Again, Rio, who had just said we can just slit her throat and leave her behind, the minute she hears it's Evanora Harkness that's there, or sees that it's the ghost of Agatha's mother, she goes, no, she doesn't get to have Agatha. So she was instantly trying to stop Agatha from getting beaten by her mother, taken by her mother, killed by her mother. So just think that's an interesting little touch, because the relationship has obviously gone on for a very long time, and she knows all about who Evanora Harkness is and why Agatha killed her and the rest of the coven back in Salem. I don't think we've heard the full story of that, and I think Rio has got some connection there.
Yeah.
I like this idea of a curse, because then what you can start to play with is part of this curse has been like to get the power of the Darkhold, she had to give up something
Mm-hmm.
that was her son, but actually wasn't. It was kind of like Mephisto's trick. They said, well, look, we're going to give you power, but you have to do X.
Yeah.
And then basically she got this part of that power was this curse, but also he tricked her and killed her son. So she's never been actually that bad. She just lent into it. Rio was there with her on the road originally. I like where you're going with this, and I think it will potentially turn it into a nice. Again, it's not really even maybe it is a redemptive arc
Mm-hmm.
because she has done bad things since. Like, let's not forget, she did imprison Wanda, but maybe they're going to shine it in a new light.
Yeah.
Which is like maybe she doesn't have a choice. Sometimes they have talked about hell. They've name checked Mephisto.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mephisto as well is also the great trickster. So
Yeah.
she could have been tricked to have gotten
Exactly.
this curse. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or, just cursed and locked in, you're now locked in till the end of time. Kind of thing.
There's just it's a nice way of doing it. That actually she's the misunderstood witch who's she has to play the big bad to basically now stay alive.
Yeah, but I mean, there's properties as well of Agatha Harkness not being the big bad witch. Yes, her history has, but she has been redeemed. Not just in comics, but say in video games as well. So
Yeah, she's in Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
Really
So,
major character. Yeah.
there is that side of the character for sure, and I think you're seeing how more complex she is than what you got from WandaVision. The continuation of the story is showing the complexity as to why she was doing that. And I think that's really good. But I think we can move this on to our fifth and final spell. Yes, just like your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Quote. This is really, really good. First of all, I think because you see Agatha, she's kind of been, like the old Energizer Bunny, she's been kind of like pumped back up with magical energy, but it's just not held. Like she hasn't got the ability to sort of retain it. So you see her kind of cusping sort of remnants or the last bit of it in the palm of her hand that she's absorbed from Alice Wu, but it kind of fizzles out. But she's been powered up enough to probably be able to see through a few things. And we have this suddenly, she kind of turns a little bit on teen, on the teen, The teen's kind of really upset by Alice, and he's like, "You just wanted her power." The teen really believes that she could have stopped absorbing that power, could have cut it off, like in a sense, she was snapped out of it, by the words of Nicholas Scratch, where he tells his mum to stop. But in a sense, all of a sudden, the teen seems quite disheartened that, is all it means here that as a witch, you go around killing people for power and for, like, as he says, your own agenda. And he goes, that's not for me. But you have the challenge right back from Agatha, who says, are you sure? You're so much like your mother. And that's when it was really imperceptible, but you just kind of almost see as though the teen is sort of growing taller a bit in front of her, like a confidence rushing in, and
just standing really tall. And
exactly, it was really, really well done. How I mean, maybe I was just imagining it, but it just felt like it was this confrontation between then a bit more like two equals. But she even calls him a pet in a really derogatory way, and it kind of riles him up, and you see sort of this flicker of blue magic in the teen's hand.
Interesting, because I didn't catch the blue magic in it.
And you see the blue eyes of Jennifer and Lilia. So I assumed he was controlling them to grab Agatha and then toss her effectively into that kind of pit that she sunk then beneath the surface.
It's just off the road, It's anywhere you step off the road, that's what happens to you, as we saw to Mrs. Hart's bag
Exactly.
in the first episode, second episode. Yeah.
But I love this. I love this as, you know, you see the teen there looking very defiant, with the little hintage of a crown on his head. So
very much. I think before I'd even gotten up this morning, there were already images of Scarlet Witch and the teen, both looking very similar with the crown on their heads. So the crown looking very much inspired by Scarlet Witch's crown.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do feel that this is Agatha trying to. So when she started getting mean to the teen, she's just killed someone. Like again, this she's trying to push them away. So it was like, right, come on, you're my familiar. Just get in line, do as I say, and stay away.
Yeah.
To push them. Some mutants they sometimes talk about, like in the comic books, or even in the original films, it was like a traumatic experience or sort of heightened emotions can usually trigger the bigger power gap or trigger their powers. I feeling this is what this is. Tina's just seen someone he cares about. Not saying he didn't care about Miss Hart, but like with the death right in front of him and him blaming that has got his emotions, the anger, the hatred, and that's triggering the kind of influx of his power.
Absolutely. And, I suppose to the point of it not being the first time he's seen someone die, he did see Mrs. Hart die, but it is different. He's been all along this road talking about the fact that they're a coven, the fact that they go through everything together. Can he be part of the coven? And he keeps getting pushed back. He is just sidelined. But himself and Alice had got that conversation before, which connected the two of them and the experience that they'd had in the past. But also he does feel that this is a coven and that Agatha would never really turn on them. She might joke about it, but she never really turn on them. And seeing here that maybe the plan all along was for her to just come down to the Witch's Road, kill all the witches on the way. It doesn't really matter. The end of the road for her would be they're all dead and I have all their powers. So that's, that could end after 10 minutes on the Witch's Road when she takes all their powers, as long as they attack her. So that's the realization he seems to be coming to there. But it is interesting, the controlling of Lilia and Jen. It was weird. I did see the blue eyes the first time I watched it, and I saw them drag Agatha off the road, but it seemed like they were coming towards the teen to take him, and then he switches off the controlling of the two of them and then throws them onto the road using his powers. So I just wasn't sure, was somebody else controlling them to take off Agatha? Was that Rio maybe? That was in control of them while they took off Agatha, or was he the one in control of the two of them the whole time? So when you say he did unleash a little bit of his blue light in that first argument before the two of them were taken over, that makes more sense.
I think my kind of feeling on it is more that, okay, he's kind of pegged in his mind Agatha, but it's when I think Jennifer says, she walks past him and says, well, aren't we all after power? What did you think this was? Like, because she's looking to get her power back, so is Lilia.
True.
And I think that realization that, okay, they may not be as murderous as Agatha or as flippant with the death of, the likes of Alice, but again, it felt like that just meant you're in the same boat, effectively, as Agatha. And so once they've done their job, he kind of just, it's almost like a banishment.
Right, yeah.
Flinging them off the road and also then sinking beneath the surface,
Yeah.
But it was great. I really, really enjoyed this bit of it. And interestingly, Rio is not there.
Yeah.
No, I think Rio's with the body.
Yeah.
Oh, she is. Yeah. And I think it goes back to one of the things we were talking about earlier on in the season, where Rio was saying to Agatha, you get the powers, I get the body. So so she's with the body for that reason, I would say. So let's see what she's doing.
I keep thinking she's kind of like doing a snake thing where she's unhinged her jaw and she's trying to swallow the body whole. A bit like what's the Simpsons one where Smithers
Yeah.
Smithers does it to Monty Burns. I kind of feel like she's doing that.
Well, Snake Smithers in the Halloween special.
Yes.
It's not just a regular episode.
No, exactly.
That
That's
would
a
be
whole
really
other
weird.
episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think Rio is, when we're looking back now, she's like the Green Witch in that kind of demonic voice. Mother Nature, whole thing decomposing, taking like you from the earth to back to the earth, that type of kind of old school pagan. So part of that, I think, is she said we joke, we need a Green Witch. No, I'm the Green Witch. Okay, so then her whole thing is being nature, so she gets the bodies to bring it back to Mother Nature. Yeah, I think that's something there.
And she does also say something when we find out that this is Agatha's trial as well, that we're all close to death.
Yeah.
Doesn't she? So,
Yeah.
So there's something else there.
They just keep bringing up death and bodies too much with her, so
yeah.
Excellent stuff. I think that is our fifth spell wound up. Any notes from this episode?
Couple little notes. Yeah. They definitely don't want us to forget that Lilia's a bit odd, isn't she? When she says lines like, I didn't like this the first time. So when they're in the trial for the first time. So yeah, there's definitely something there. But also a big reveal about her powers in this episode as well. Lilia says she's never talked to the dead. That was just an easy way to describe what she was doing, and she can just read people and read time.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
I think
interesting.
we were right with that back when we joked about that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting power to have, that she's reading time.
Yeah.
So different things that happened in the past, present and future are going through her mind all at the same time. That's why she actually was able to see the arrival of the Salem 7 at the start of the episode. She's not having a dream or a nightmare. She's actually seeing it because time is passing through her. That's a really cool power.
Yeah, and she even clocks that the test is Agatha's because she says the blood moon is when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest.
Yeah.
Again, I wonder if that's just with the association of Rio. That's the thing. So this couplet is really intriguing to me because as you said, Chris, is it the original Green Witch or is it death? Yeah,
There's something weird.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, really good stuff to me. It's really intriguing.
The last one about the teen, when we see him grow his crown, do you know who the artist is? For the mic drop, the needle drop moment, the song at the end. The artist is Billie Eilish. So again, just to make you think, just to hammer home, this is Wiccan, this is Billie.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yes.
here you go, it's Billie Eilish. And you're like, yeah, well done. Okay, we get it. Like, we get every aspect that you're throwing in our face.
Absolutely. But it must be so cool to have the money to do something like this, where you go, right, we're going to reveal Billy Wiccan at the end of an episode. He's going to be wearing a crown. Can we have Billie Eilish's You should see me in a crown? Like, what a great way to be able to break open the checkbooks. We need that song. It opens with the perfect line and by an artist that also will give a little nod to who the character is. How cool is that? Like, it's fascinating. I think we did talk about it on the podcast last week. That this is the least expensive of all the Marvel TV shows. Each episode costs less than every other show. They use practical effects for the most part. Not much CGI in the show for the most part. So it's really interesting. I would say they probably did put a lot of budget to Billie Eilish to go, can we just use that song for our closing credits? It's a great song, though. I really like it.
I'm not a massive Billie Eilish fan. But
really? Wow.
Yeah.
I love her albums. I play them very often. Really like her stuff. Yeah. Great stuff.
But I think that's all the notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's all the notes. Mm-hmm. So, Chris, do you defend episode 5 of Agatha All Along?
I do. I really enjoyed this one. I think it's going to be one that we look back on and go, oh, okay, there's a nod, where they'll kind of, and again, as you said, it's the shortest of all of them so far. It is a breakneck pace from the beginning. You're being chased and the story's being chased. So we're just getting. So I really enjoyed for what it was. We didn't have time to sit back and go, what is it? What does that? What about? Like, it was just go. So I'm kind of hoping they just kind of go straight to the next episode. Give me the next episode.
Absolutely.
Just shadow drop it for me. Come on, go like, yay! But I know it won't. This time next week we'll be happy bunch and know all the answers. But until then, I will sit here and debate online with everyone. So yes, I defend this episode.
Excellent stuff.
But then, Derek, do you defend this episode of Agatha All Along?
I love this. This is exactly why I love weekly TV. Stick a cliffhanger at the end of an episode and let me speculate about it for a week.
Absolutely.
I love it. That's exactly it. I'd hate if this was a Netflix show and there was a cliffhanger there and then we just get to find out what it is immediately. I hate when that happens, especially because usually what actually happens is that happens after we've watched 3 episodes back to back and we have to go out somewhere and we still have to deal with the cliffhanger, even though it's sitting right there. But I'm really glad that they've have this reveal at the end of the episode. Episode overall, yes, very fast. There was lots of really good stuff in there, but I actually did want another 5 minutes in the episode, and it was in the cabin because I think the actual location for a horror Halloween TV show is a great location, and I don't think we're going to visit another horror cabin later on down the line. I've actually, unless everything is a horror cabin, is it? Have all the episodes been horror cabins? But this one specifically, where we're taking references from Evil Dead and from Friday the 13th, some of my favorite slasher movies and horror movies from the 80s. I wish we just had a little bit more time with the Coven in this scenario in the episode, and it would have made it 30 minutes long, a bit closer to the other episodes. Wouldn't have affected any of the other storyline in there, but I just wish we had a little moment as they discussed or chatted.
I think so. Certainly because Alice dies here.
Because the character moments have been great this season with the actual actors, and having a bit more time with them on screen is always good fun. So yeah. But overall, really enjoyed the episode. How about yourself, John? Do you defend this episode of Agatha All Along?
Yes, I do defend this episode. I would give this 4 Hexen Bessons Broom out of 5. I really enjoyed this. I think, tad short, 23 minutes, I guess. But it felt quick. But it didn't feel like that affected it. I really enjoyed it. But I think, a bit more time in the cabin for myself as well. I think in particular for the teen with Alice, I think we see them connecting in Jennifer's episode, and I think you can see that sort of connection a bit between these two, and I think that's why he takes it that sort of badly, really, to some degree.
I think if it had been any member of the Coven, that would have been his reaction, actually.
No, agreed.
Because I think he's got a connection now with all 3 of the other members of the Coven and is trying to connect with Agatha, and Agatha's pushing him back quite a lot. And
he's trying to find his place in that witching world. So, this is a really important thing for him. So, but I really enjoyed this. Love the Salem 7. Loved the moment on the brooms. I thought it was really class. And it don't often just go just for the sheer delight of it. I just thought it was really, really good. It is like that moment with E.T. in the front of the bicycle. It's just kind of like this release, glorious moment. I absolutely loved it. And I'm just really intrigued, really, with what's going to happen with Rio. Where has Agatha gone? Isn't it Wiccan? It is Wiccan. And if it's not, then they're just doing something different, but calling him that. And I just really enjoyed this. So 4 Hexen Bessons Brooms out of 5 for me, and I definitely defend this episode.
3 defends there. Excellent stuff. All really enjoying the show so far. I think it's been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
Oh, yes. Definitely, yeah.
But I think we need to raise a toast to the lost sister.
Absolutely. Let's get down to the local pub, or maybe the local cauldron.
Yes, for Agatha All Along Cauldron Quiz. Yes, episode 5, question 5, in memoriam for Alice Wu. Here is the question. What age does the teen say you need to be to play Parker Brothers Ouija board?
I was very surprised.
I was very surprised as well.
Now, I don't know whether that's the same in real life. I suspect it is, but we're asking, what the teen says in the episode, just in case in real life it's different, right?
Unless you've got Parker's Brothers Ouija board and it's something completely different, don't go reading it from the box.
Yes. From the episode. John, do you want to get the question one more time?
Yes. What age does the teen say you need to be to play Parker Brothers Ouija board?
Excellent. That's the fifth question. Gather together the correct answers. Email us at the end of the season with all of your correct answers to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and you could be in with a chance of getting your hands on some Agatha All Along goodies. If you've missed any of the questions so far, pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, and there's a pub quiz section on there that has all the questions that you may have missed.
Yes. Good luck, fellow defenders and fellow quizzers in the Cauldron Quiz. Let us get on to our feedback section. First up, on email at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, Coffee and Vodka says, greetings, fellow mummy dearest defenders. I keep forgetting Agatha's a bad guy. Where to start, where to end. This one's got me spinning. Alice is gone, Wiccan's here, and not at all happy. 3 buried alive off-road, the main character among them, the rest unaccounted for, all in an episode that feels maybe 10 minutes long, and yet another song to add to my favourites list. More a collection of sensations than an installment, which really can't be commented on, much less figured out until we see what follows. Still, an effective collection of sensations, complete with brooms, the Salem 7, and a retainer. Until we know which side is up, it's all just a lesson as to why sleepovers are never a good idea. 5-ish revolutionary revelations, creepy, cuddly creatures, and open spellways out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka.
Excellent stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Yeah, I thought that moment with Jennifer and the retainer was hilarious. So she has to say, Agatha has to be punished and then has to take the retainer out to repeat the words because she couldn't get them out the retainer in. Very good. Very good. Yeah, it was a really fun episode, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was, and I get the angle of this collection of sensations. It was absolutely very fast paced. I think we said it at the start. It was this chase. It was frenetic. You kind of just reacted to what was happening because it was really quick. I mean, in a sense, I appreciated it more the second time.
Yeah.
Of watching it. I also appreciated the short run time just in terms of taking my notes because, to be honest, recently, we've been doing the Rings of Power and they're at least an hour, and it's oh my goodness, I haven't written that much in ages.
Honestly, John tries to keep his notes to one page. Fellow defenders tries to always keep to one page. He was getting to the point that he was writing like John Doe from the 7 movies in his diary. He was his writing was so small he couldn't read it when we were podcasting, so he was still trying to keep it to one page, and eventually went over to 2 and even 3 pages in some episodes of that show because it's massive. Yeah, yes. Really good though.
But there's no head in a box.
No, there's not. No.
What's in the box?
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. Let's head on over to Facebook.
Yes, thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka. First up over on Facebook, we have some feedback from Terry Miller, who has this to say. I haven't seen this episode yet. I just got home from work, but then it just hit me, and I had to share. I think I know who Agatha is. So my theory, Agatha is the humbug version of the Wizard of Oz, Professor Marvel. She was a grifter who teamed up with Death and never walked the witch's road. The grift was that she gathered them with Death, killed them, she'd get the power, and Death would make its quota. And I've also been wanting to wish you all a happy anniversary. I've been with you since the good old Halcyon Gotham days.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Terry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terry. And great to get the old theory. I mean, yeah, certainly, I think the whole Death angle is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
But who knows? Because I think there's a lot of stuff in the way this is written where it can be kind of multiple things.
Yeah.
But certainly, I can see that angle around Agatha working with Death.
Yeah, and I think we'd mentioned before that we had that kind of theory that Agatha hadn't gone down the road because she doesn't help anybody. Even when she's asked direct questions, she doesn't really say anything committal or anything to indicate that she'd actually been down the road. So maybe she was just bringing covens to a doorway and then killing them all, taking their powers and leaving the bodies there for death. So maybe that's exactly what she was doing. She'd never been on the road before. And thanks so much for the happy anniversary, Terry, our 10th anniversary this year, just coming by. And as part of the 10th anniversary, we're back in Gotham again. We're covering the Penguins. So I hope you're listening along on that as well, Terry.
Yes, thank you so much, Terry.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks so much, Terry.
Also over on Facebook, Heather Wallace says, that was so tense. I already had to wait for the sun to go down to watch it because stupid daylight saving started on the weekend and made my house too light to see the screen. Although even at twilight it was hard to see the early scenes in the episode. But it was worth the wait. Poor Alice, R.I.P. Confirmation that Lilia is getting visions of the future, and wow, Agatha going coldly menacing is really creepy. Am I right that Rio wasn't there when the teen, although I guess we can now call him Billy, put them all under the ground? The start, when Agatha was telling them to pack up and move, was reminiscent of me trying to motivate hungover friends to leave our Airbnb the morning after Eurovision. Fantastic, Heather. I love it. I love it. I think we've all had that experience after lots of drinks watching Eurovision.
And loads of things.
Yeah.
Super Bowl, I guess stag do's, hen do's, you name it. I guess just university.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally understand that. Yeah, and I'm there with you around Agatha kind of going coldly menacing as she, in a sense, because she's been powered up, realizes quite who the teen is. And from my side, yes, I think we can possibly call him Billy. Certainly maybe Wiccan.
Maybe. We'll find out next week.
Wiccan.
A Wiccan, the Wiccan.
Exactly.
A Billy, the Billy. Who knows?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that, Heather. Finally, we got a message from Paul Tenchi Lee, who says, WTF with Alice. Shortest episode yet, but so packed of character details. Also, I'm having some 80s outfit PTSD. Love the digital watches. Also, now that ghosts are canonical on the road, we might get Sharon and Alice back in later episodes as non-flashback characters. Ooh, that's an interesting theory there, Paul.
It could be a little power-up of ghosts.
Yeah. I must say, we're 5 episodes into the show, of a 9-episode show. We're over halfway through, and this is the most different feeling thing that Marvel Studios has done so far. It has introducing things to the MCU that we've never had before,
like death,
like actual ghosts appearing in scenes in here. There used to be this thing where they'd say, they've mentioned Wakanda for the first time in the MCU, and you're going, well, yeah, that's mentionable, that's fine, we'll get there in a couple of years' time. Here they're like, every week they're throwing in spells and magic and say ghosts, things like that every week, and you're going, how is this going to play out in the future of the MCU? I don't think they care. They're just having lots of fun making the show.
To as well,
but it always has in the past. Is the point? This isn't DC. These aren't unconnected things.
I'm not saying it has to be unconnected or connected. I'm just saying I think you can play within the toy pit.
I think they are
of
definitely.
Marvel,
but they had never been allowed to in the past.
No, I know. I get
every single thing that appeared on screen, every action that's there on screen would have been underlined to say, well, what happens if Captain Marvel suddenly is able to use magic, or the ghost of somebody appears to Captain America, or whatever.
Agreed.
Everything was connected.
It was, absolutely. And we've had countless discussions on this podcast around whether they should be rigidly adhered to. Connected
where I stand.
And consistency, different things to my... Yes, I love the consistency that they bring in, but... I love what they're doing, and that's why I always, not only because Doctor Strange, my character, but that was a big jolt to the MCU, having magic, same with having space, the same with whatever, that moves it on from spies and espionage.
Which is a bit of a shame. Yep. Great stuff. Thanks so much for all your feedback. Keep sending your feedback into us. You can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries, where you can share your thoughts on each episode of every show that we're covering. We have a spoiler post up there for that.
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for your thoughts.
Thank you so much from me and everyone here in TV Podcast Energy. Can't wait to see you next week when we find out, is it a Wiccan, the Wiccan, a Wiccan? What is a Wiccan?
A
Will I
Wiccan
say
why?
Wiccan one more time? Is this a wicked vibe? Chicka chicka chow.
You can see it now. He's going to go, my name's actually Brian and I'm a wizard. Like, no, you got both things wrong. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, as always, fellow Defenders. Until next week, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep defending.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.